Hi everybody, Tim Wild here, and I'm coming to you from the comfort of my lounge this morning because it is actually genuinely raining cats and dogs out there. And usually I would kind of get my waterproofs on and take my cup of coffee outside, but I fear for the existence of my iPad. So I've opened the door behind me to get that fresh air, sort of like authentic outside feeling, but I am inside today. So, and we're going to be talking a little bit about crystals because I deal specifically with crystals every single day of my life. We sell them from my Crystals and Skulls page on Facebook, which many of you may have already have seen. And we use a term called activated crystals a lot. Now I'm going to explain a little bit about what an activated crystal is this morning, how to use a crystal yourself and how to activate your own crystals, because now back in the days of the third dimension, which is anything prior to 2012, most crystals that came to people, such as this is my personal crystal. You may have seen this before on videos when I've been using it. Many of the crystals that would come to those of us who wanted them, either by kind of getting them in a shop or coming to you on a personal level, these crystals would be what would be known as inert. The crystal would be inactive. Now that was because it has been removed from the ground and then it has been going through the process of either being in a natural state or polished or carved into a shape. Now, many of you have said, do you think it's the right thing to do to take a crystal in the quantity that we do from the earth and put them into a use that is of our own kind of our own means? And I think that is perfectly acceptable because to me crystals are completely conscious. They are in no way, shape or form oblivious to what is going on around them. They choose the form that they are going to occupy very, very carefully. So when a raw crystal is removed from the ground, from wherever it is, that crystal has got a mission very much like you and I have got. And it's coming to planet Earth, it is coming to assist people on the ascension process, and it will choose its form very carefully. They're not completely helpless, and that crystal will decide, well, I want to stay in my natural form, or I wish to be polished into a shape or a certain size, or I want to occupy and take the form of a dragon or a crystal skull. I'm going to be using all of these different examples this morning to actually explain the different consciousnesses that go into the crystals and the crystals occupy. Now, back to what I was originally saying about the date before 2012, most crystals would arrive at their destination inert, which means they are waiting to be activated. So a budding light worker like myself or you would pick that crystal up, you'd be drawn to it. That crystal would speak to you on a level, whatever way your clairsentience, your clairaudience or your clairvisual abilities would communicate with it. And once that crystal touches your energy fields, once it is held in your hand, it then starts to go through an activation process, because your energy basically triggers the consciousness of the crystal. The crystal would have become part of you. It would start to merge on an energy level with your physical, mental, emotional and your spiritual fields, and it would start to take on aspects of your energy with permission, of course. Now, since the cosmic moment in 2012, things have changed, and I've noticed them changing on a daily basis because I work with crystals every single day. The crystals that are coming to me now are no longer inert. They're already conscious, they're already activated. Now, that will be down to the change in vibration on this planet. So, although we see, sense and feel very much in a way that we did previously, and we might be thinking, well, nothing's changed, it really has. And the field collectively around this planet is rising so rapidly that everything is affected, especially the crystals. The crystals are literally, in computer terms, coming online. So the way that I personally have always used crystals is as an extension of myself. A crystal is almost an extension of your energy once it connects with you. I will take a crystal and I will personally take it through an activation process. I will use my energy, my focus, my intent, and my consciousness to bring that crystal into the highest state possible. So take for example my crystal ankh, okay? Ankhs are associated with the fifth dimensional heart center, so I use this ankh when I want to work with my own heart center or when I want to keep and hold my energy fields at a very high vibration. So this crystal ankh, it's connected with me directly because I've kind of claimed this crystal as mine. But we also sell them from the Crystals and Skull page. So every single ankh that comes through the activation process, I work with each of them individually, will be activated and set to a template of energy that represents the heart center. So I usually tend to activate them and link them to the cosmic heart, which is, as some of you may know, the ninth dimensional portal at Venus. So that's a little bit about how the ankhs kind of relate to us. That you know, many of you have asked, what do I use my ankh for? Well, it's linked to your heart center. It's the key to the heart. And every time you are holding this ankh, every time I'm holding this ankh, I know for a fact that it expands my energy fields. It means that what the light level that I would normally be holding almost trebles. and that might sound like an astronomical amount of energy, but that is the actual reality of the way that crystals work with us. Now, so take for the example, also, I have, you know, for every crystal I have a use for it. This particular crystal is my personal crystal. It's Lemurian. It's, as you can see, it's got a mountain in there, a phantom, which is incredibly powerful. And you may be able to see it's almost like the hallmarking, the Lemurian and the Atlantean hallmarking down there, and various shapes. That, to me, this is a temple of knowledge. It is a library of information that I was also in contact with back in Atlantean times. This is a crystal that has been returned to me after many, many lifetimes, and a lot of you out there will be also experiencing this reconnection to crystals that you know already. This is the fun part about it. Everybody has got very specific kind of crystals allocated to them. They will come to you. You will know that crystal when you see it, because your heart will just go, wow, that has got to come to me. But this particular one I use specifically for holding the energy fields around my house. So say I'm going away to work for 2 or 3 days, I will make sure that this crystal has already formed almost like what's known as a crystal grid around my house. Now, if you're going to form a crystal grid around your house using a crystal of your own, what I tend to do is take the diameter, you know, the geometry of your house, how long, how wide it is, how high it is, and form a pyramid of energy around it. So you are literally covering the house in a pyramid of energy. You know, usually safe to just put it 5 meters on the outside of each wall, and also cover the underneath into the earth. Sometimes I like to invert that pyramid as well, so it's pointing down. So you've got the earth that the house is built on, and the actual house itself contained within this pyramid of energy. Then you ask Archangel Metatron or Archangel Christiel, who work at a very high vibration, to hold and anchor that light level in. So you can leave your house for, say, 2 or 3 days, like I have to sometimes, and be safe in the knowledge that everything within your house is held at a 5th dimensional frequency whilst you're away. A little bit later on in these videos, I will go through the actual dynamics and the specifics of these activations if you want me to do so, but I'm just kind of lightly covering what you know, how I use them. And also, this crystal contains the crystalline codes of Atlantis, which I've been working with for 2 years, and they are 13 symbols that were given back to me in relation to my life as a high priest in Atlantis, and I've used them to kind of reconnect with hundreds of people around the world who also had lifetimes as either high priests or high priestesses. As you can see, you know, it's a benchmark of energy that spreads through many of us, because many of us did have special high frequency lifetimes during that amazing 260,000 years. And The memories that I have haven't come back in any chronological order, but the ones that I have had are very, very important, and they've given me tools and information that I need. So they were happy days, and more to come. So this crystal is very, very special to me. It holds any of the very specific light and information that I want it to. So say, for example, you want your crystal to hold an energy or a meditation or an activation. Say you do a meditation every morning. It takes you roughly 25 to 30 minutes, and you do this on a daily basis. But one morning you don't have time. You don't have time to do that meditation. You've got to leave the house in a hurry. You're late for work, or you're late to take your children to school or something. And instead of having that half an hour, you've got to kind of, face the world around you without your usual routine. Well, one way of doing it is asking your crystal to hold the exact dynamics of that meditation. You take the time one night to hold your crystal in your hands and run through verbally the meditation that you want. So say I'm doing the 12 chakras, I'd start at the stellar gateway, work all the way down through my chakras to the earth star at the end, and I would finish it. So I'm literally reading the visualization out word for word, and at the end I'd ask the crystal to store it exactly within the energy boundaries that I have read out and that have been created around me during the course of that meditation. And your crystal will store that for you. You are asking your crystal quite literally to do the job that a computer would do. And if you think about it, all of our computer systems, the way that we're communicating together, the information is stored on a silicon chip, and the silicon chip is crystal. So the crystals of the future are going to be, our computer systems, our light, our power, our heat, everything that we actually kind of relate to on a daily comfort and technological basis will all be crystal run. We're only just starting to actually recover the information and the knowledge that we have. It's vast. So moving on slightly, I now have here with me a crystal unicorn, which is another carving that we deal with and we sell. Now, the crystal unicorns are incredibly special because you can see here, this one is carved from rose quartz. It weighs approximately 300 to 400 grams, which is quite heavy. It's a proper handful. And these hold the energy of the unicorns, which is the chosen shape. It's what they've chosen to be carved into. And the unicorns are coming in at the moment at 10th dimensional frequency. They are incredibly powerful. That gateway opened in the last 2 months, and the night that it did, I can remember kind of just literally lying on the sofa, complete like I'd been electrified, and one of those rare nights I didn't get much rest. And that was because this energy, this new very high frequency energy that had come in. Now these carvings are capable of anchoring that energy in. Obviously they need intent and focus to do so, which is the job that I do with each of the carvings before they go out. So they go through a meditation and activation process. I sit with each individual carving, and I will call forth the energy of whatever unicorns want to come through at 10th or 9th or even 8th dimensional frequency. It doesn't matter what the template energy is. It's a lot higher than we're used to embodying on a physical level. And I anchor it and I connect it in to each of the unicorns, and that is what we call a base template energy. That anchors in, that opens the crystal up, and what I tend to do is lock it down to that frequency until it reaches its keeper. And then when the keeper connects with that crystal, then that's when the real fun starts, because that keeper will be triggered with memories, with downloads, with activations of their own. And there's no kind of guide or handbook for what you're going to experience with each of your crystals, because we each perceive how they communicate with us very differently. So that's the unicorns. And also I have here, it's a very small example, but it's still very beautiful, a crystal dragon. Now the dragons are connected, as you can see. This one is made from clear quartz. It's a very, very clear quartz. But, as many men say, like, size doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how small or large your crystal is, it's incredibly powerful. Even a small crystal carving of this dragon will be able to anchor in a lot of dragon energy, and a carving this size will affect the whole energy of your household. Just one crystal can change the vibration of everything in its parameter of energy, and it can throw a field of energy anything up to half a kilometre around you, just these small crystal dragons such as this. Now the dragons are everywhere at the moment. Every single soul I'm talking to is connecting with the dragons on a very, very high level. So if they're coming to you at the moment, and Diana Cooper, of course, has brought through an incredible amount of information about the dragons, and also that beautiful pack of dragon cards, which I love working with on a daily basis. They are really looking to connect with people, and I love working with the carvings specifically because it just opens up that dragon doorway just even a little bit more for, you know, for those of us who maybe have a little bit of trouble connecting with the etherics around us. Crystals really help with that. They actually light us up. When you're holding a crystal, you become a beacon of energy. So that's the dragon carvings, and each obviously one of those is activated to a dragon energy, a template energy, an energy which is kind of set until it reaches its keeper, and then the keeper kind of activates it further. And crystal skulls. So this is my personal crystal skull, which was gifted to me by the lovely Birkin Tor, and that this goes with me everywhere. This is my crystal. This is my crystal skull. It connects me to all of the sacred sites that it was taken to when Birkin very kindly travelled around and took this skull with him. And also, when we introduced ourselves to each other, he said, I'm the keeper of secrets. I mean, I communicate directly with the crystals, not in a way that I hear voices kind of like literally in my ears. It's an empathic, it's almost like a telepathic communication. Back in the days when I first started this, I was like, well, is this my imagination? But there's a very distinct difference, as many of you will have been able to kind of differentiate by now. The flow of energy between your mind and something that's coming in from the outside. It takes a little bit of time and effort to kind of sort out which one's which, but eventually, you know, with a little bit of practice and a little bit of focus, you learn to notice the difference. So this skull called himself Morpheus, keeper of secrets, and Morpheus basically contains keys and codes and knowledge dating right back to Atlantean times. So when I'm wanting to dig in a little bit further, my crystal skull helps me to do so. And that is the purpose of crystal skulls. Many of you will go, why that shape? Why a skull? Because they represented to the Atlanteans, who use crystal skulls every day, the physical form of wisdom. You know, when we took human bodies in physical form, the skull represents the wisdom, the crown, and the knowledge that is contained within ourselves. So that's why they've taken that form. And many people say, well, you know, I find the form of the skull a little bit kind of unnerving or unsettling. It doesn't represent death, it represents wisdom and knowledge. And that's just something that many of us have had to work through as well, sort of like the cellular blueprint that we had at the fall of Atlantis that kind of made us maybe a little bit averse to everything that we were using in the end days of that time. And it's just stuff that comes up, so just let it flow if it does occur for you. But crystal skulls were my first love when I got into the world of carvings, and of course via the page we sell those as well. This isn't me kind of coming forth with an advert this morning. This is explaining what I do and why I do it. So we have hundreds of skulls that come to us. Each of them require individual attention and energy. They each go through an activation process with me where I will set their template energy very specifically to Atlantean times. There's an Atlantean crystal consciousness which has existed since the fall that stems for nearly 260,000 years, and the only way to describe it would be a little bit like an iCloud. You know, when you kind of store your computer information in this kind of mystical cloud that exists somewhere that you can't see. Well, it's very, very similar to crystal skull consciousness. All of the consciousness from the crystal skulls that have existed on this planet, either previously or now, all go into this unified consciousness, this cloud of energy. So I tune crystal skulls into the highest frequency that's available, and I do so again with my intention. I hold each crystal skull, I intend it to be active, I attune it in with my light and my energy, and then I link it into this collective crystal skull frequency. And you can do this yourself. This is the purpose of this video this morning, is that crystals and the work that we do with them, I find in the past, has tended to be kind of almost overcomplicated by people. People are almost, what do I do with my crystal? How do I work with my crystal? And I say, well, how long have you had your crystal for? How long have you? Well, I've had it for years. And I said, well, you already know how to work with it then. You maybe are looking outside of yourself for something which you don't receive, when in actual fact you've already connected with that crystal, and it will be communicating with you on a sublime level. It will be communicating with you through your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, any way that it's all down to how our third eyes are wired up. We are either very kind of in tune to the energies around us, or we see beings that are of a higher dimensional frequency, or we hear words. I myself am very clairsentient. I feel absolutely everything around me. That's a very, very powerful way to be in tune, because once you've learnt to actually differentiate what's your energy and what's everybody else's energy, then you can really start to read the world around you. And that's kind of something that many of us have been going through for some time now, and comes in as the tests of discernment, what's right and what's wrong for you. But working with crystals couldn't be simpler. It really is a case of picking them up, tuning into their energy, allowing your light, your energy, your frequency to flow into those crystals, and for the crystal to respond to that. And at that point they become an extension of you. And recently information has come to me about the absolute critical importance of crystals on our ascension pathway. And I honestly believe that if it wasn't for the crystals that have come to each and every one of us, or will be coming to you in the near future, then we would still be 10 or 15 years, or maybe even 20 years behind where we are now on the level of progress, anchoring in this light, anchoring in this energy that we're all doing. I know for a fact that I use my crystals every single day to raise my vibration and hold the light and the frequency that I do, because it's not something that's just done overnight. You don't just kind of call this energy in and then anchor it and toddle off. It's a work in process, and the crystals are here to assist you every single step of your way. And it's simple. If you watch a child work with a crystal, they will just pick that crystal up and they won't think about it, they won't engage their brain, they will just simply use that crystal. They will place it in patterns or formations, or they will place that crystal somewhere where they know subconsciously it's going to do good. And it's very, very similar, adults, us kind of thinking, operating humans. It's to work with crystals effectively, just kind of put the kind of the thinking logical side away slightly, and just feel your way through it. And you will find that you will connect with your crystal very, very easily. And don't be kind of disappointed if you suddenly don't hear voices in your head, or you don't see all of these kind of magical things that some people see. It's simply, it's the way that you receive the information that's important. Identifying how you receive the information from your crystal is the utmost priority, and then you can start to work forward and move with it. So I hope I've explained a little bit about how I personally work with crystals. How I work with crystals is not maybe going to be how you work with crystals. You've got to kind of identify the best way forward for yourselves, and just keep it simple. Working with crystals is simple and very, very powerful if you allow it to be. And if you want to know more about the crystals and the carvings and everything else that I personally work with and sell, my Facebook page, Tim Wild Crystals and Skulls, is on Facebook. So check it out and have a look and see kind of what we do. But this is a small example of it, and current favourite is always the Ankhs. The Ankhs are a symbol of Atlantis and Egypt, and also the fifth dimensional heart centre. You can imagine a key turning, opening your heart. That's very much how I use it on a daily basis. So lots of love, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.